And hello and welcome to Magical Journey. Before we get started tonight, I've got a couple of things I want to talk to you guys about, and it's self promotion. Imagine that. Start with obviously, you are on the Magical Journey channel right now on YouTube. Make sure you do a like, subscribe, and give me some comments tonight. It always helps me to grow, and the more I grow, the more never mind. Anyway, so tonight, if you got here through Facebook, you probably got here through the Facebook group or the page. If you do not know about either one of those, both of those are also on Magical Journey on Facebook. The page is strictly all stuff for the shows. I'll be posting what's coming up, what's happening now. Sometimes I'll post photos if they're related to the topic of the night. And also the group. The group is just a smorgasbord. This is a good place to meet some fellow participants in the chat. A good place to meet and greet people who are interested in the brand and in my podcast. And a good place to find out all kinds of stuff related to the paranormal at. Now let's get to the cream of the crop. This is my favorite thing because I work on this a lot. I worked on it last night, as a matter of fact, and that is magicaljourney.com. There is an update or two on there recently. Please do check it out. It is very worth a while and doesn't take a lot of time either. All of my social media links are on there. So that's pretty much everything on that. Tonight, guys, I'm just going to tell you, I have been waiting for this moment to interview this guest tonight for a while. Not only is he I call him an endless well of information, but there is just an amazing controlled chaos and classiness all at the same time about the way that he delivers his stuff, and he knows his stuff well. So if you have any questions tonight is a really, really good time to ask. I am talking about, from none other than TikTok fame, Bro Ryan. Hey.
Hey, how are you? Thank
You know
you for
what,
having
Ryan?
me on your show. I'm so excited.
You know what? I'm excited. I'm so excited. And thank you for showing up tonight. Hey, so for our viewers that want to hear straight from the horse's mouth, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Oh, God. Well, I did have to wear my witchy hat today. I mean, I could not be interviewed without having my little black witch hat. So I got that. I'm trying to look cute. But what should I say? I'll give you the short version. I was born and raised a Jehovah's Witness, third generation. So I was born and raised in a crazy conservative Christian cult. And they kicked me out. They disfellowshipped me or excommunicated me because they found out I was queer. So who I was as a person didn't obviously align with the church. And when I left and I did research into the church and I realized, how fucked up they were, then I decided to go to college and start learning philosophy and comparative religion. So I've studied Hinduism, Buddhism, Taoism, Confucianism, Zoroastrianism, Sufism, Islam, Kabbalah, occult. I mean, I just studied everything. And I just read a lot. I've been reading like 3 or 4 books a week for the past 22 years and on spirituality. And I came to Wicca. My first encounter with the craft was with the books of Scott Cunningham. So Scott Cunningham is like my idol. He's the man that taught me how to be a witch. And what I had realized was I was always a witch. I think that if you come to the craft or you become a witch or you say you're a witch, I think it's really a remembering or realizing that, oh yeah, this is what I am. This is where I fit. And when I found Wicca, I decided that this is who I am. This is where I fit. I like being a witch, and that's how I identify. I identify as a witch, but I'm a serious practitioner too. Um, so that kind of led me on to different journeys later on in life. About 5 years ago, I went on an ancestor path, and that led me all the way to Africa to get fully initiated as an Oshun priest in the Ifa Orisha religion. So in April, I went to Nigeria, and did that, and just that's kind of like where I'm at. I've written a lot of books, so you can read my books.
Yeah, and let's talk about the books for a minute because you did some incredible work with those. Uh, like, not only are they beautifully written, but they're just beautifully produced.
Thank you. I mean, if anybody's interested in getting my any of my books, I 100% recommend that you get Brujo Ryan's book of medicinal and magical herbalism with crystal correspondences and astrological correspondences, because that's a 1,200-page book, and it is my magnum opus. It has got a lot of herbs in it, and it's also about astrological herbalism. That's one of the biggest problems I have with witchcraft today, and like the kind of shit you see on TikTok is nobody talks about astrological correspondences and herbal astrology, and that is all part of traditional witchcraft, and it's something that nobody talks about. But you have to download the Kindle app either to your computer, your tablet, or your phone, because the 14.99, it should be way more expensive than that, but right now I'm selling it for 15 bucks. The paperback versions are so expensive to print that they're like 50 bucks each. So downloading it on Kindle is the best way to read it. But then, yeah, and I just released another book called, what's it called? It's called The Chaotic Witch, How to Practice Chaos Magic with Traditional Witchcraft. So that's my chaos magic book that I just released. And those are my two favorite books. So if you guys want to check those out, those are the ones I recommend.
Yeah, I saw the newest one. I saw the video for it the other day because you have it pinned on your TikTok
Mm-hmm.
profile, and it to me it just looked like immediate like nerd candy. Had to have it. Um, some of the stuff that you go into on there, and this is one of the things that I want to give you guys a heads up about. Like literally, like Ryan leaves no stone unturned when he's talking about a topic, especially when he's writing about it. So like you will literally get everything you need to know to start out with the whole thing of chaos magic. There's like, dude, I you were so thorough. You were so thorough.
Yeah, nauseatingly thorough, right? That's
No, it's definitely not nauseating. It's refreshing.
thank you. Yeah, so I have a spiritual mentorship program on Discord,
Yes.
and people will come into my live and they'll ask me a question, and then 15 minutes later I'll still be talking about stuff, and I will have gone like so far out into space where stream of consciousness just goes, and I'm just connecting all of these different pieces, and then I forget what I'm talking about, and then I have to say, what was I talking about? And my students bring me back to center. But yeah, I'll go off on tangents. I do.
Right.
I go off on little
Now,
tangents.
you do, and that's one of the things that really kind of intrigued me about you to start with is the amount of information that you pull out there and put out there for people uh, is really is not only just insightful as crap, but it's like it leaves no stone unturned before it's over with. When you're getting into talking about something, you go into the history, you go into all the nuts and bolts. And I think that's one of the things that really makes me excited about your teaching. Um, what is, oh, there we go. That's what I was looking for. Is your LinkTree account?
Thank you so much.
Pam. Pam has all your stuff tonight. She's got all your links.
Wow, Pam, thanks. You're the bomb. Look at that.
Oh,
She's ready for it.
Pam
Who
is always like she is like the mother goddess of moderators. Um, so let's talk a little bit about first of all some basic witchy stuff here. Let's talk about the types of because you've mentioned a couple of them already. Let's talk a little bit about the types of witchcraft and how one even gets started with the witch practice.
I would absolutely love to talk about that because I love working with brand new witches. It is my absolute favorite thing. Working with people who are coming to the craft that don't know anything about it. They are my favorite people to talk to. Um, People who are interested in starting a spiritual practice. So if you were one of my mentees, or you came to me for a reading, a private spiritual consultation, like, I don't know what to do. Where do I start? I want to be a witch, or I think I'm a witch, but I don't know. I don't know what I should start with. The first place I tell people to start with is with ancestors, okay? Because the three oldest spiritualities humanity has ever practiced is animism, spiritism, and ancestor veneration. Animism is the understanding or the belief that all things inherently contain a spirit. So animistic magic is traditional magic, working with the spirit of a thing like herbs and trees and rocks and crystals and the ocean and lakes and rivers and springs. Um, Spiritism, which is communication with non-human entities, angels, demons, fairies, gods, goddesses, whatever, spirits of the dead. And then ancestors, venerating and honoring those who have come before us, because your DNA is a link, it's a chain that binds you to every single person who has ever come before you, all the way back to the beginning of time, all the way back to the womb of God, because God would be our first ancestor, whether you consider that to be, however you consider that. Whoever gave birth to the universe, that is the first ancestor. And so the earth is an ancestor. The stars are a kind of ancestor. The rivers, the lakes, the trees, the mountains, those are types of ancestors. And then we have human ancestors, the ones that we're connected to by blood through our DNA. So it's always very important for someone to start with yourself and start with your family. Now, I tell people there's a great book. It's called Badass Ancestors, written by a woman
Yeah.
named Patty Wigington. Very simple book, easy to digest, won't take you very long to read, but will immediately put you on the path to starting to create like an altar. So the first altar I believe that anybody should create is an ancestor altar. And in my tradition, what we do is we'll put out a glass of water, we'll put out some fresh flowers, we'll put out a white candle, maybe a picture or two of our dead loved ones. And that will be a place where you pray and talk to the spirits of the dead that are your ancestors, say ancestor prayers. We traditionally, in all traditional cultures, people put out food and drink offerings for the ancestors. So, like if you know that your great grandfather liked to smoke, you know, Marlboro Lights, then you're going to buy a pack of Marlboro Lights and, put it out for them, or like put out a hot cup of coffee or a shot of whiskey. But in Espiritismo, Criollo, or Creolized Spiritism, Creolized mediumship, this is how we honor the dead. And anybody can do that. Ancestor veneration is not a close practice. You should be honoring your ancestors. And um, no one can tell you how to worship God. No one can tell you how to talk to your own ancestors. No one can talk to you. No one can tell you how to talk to your own spirit guides. And no one can tell you how to practice. You know, being a witch is being completely independent and being self-governing, autonomous. Being a witch is a very, very special thing. I was a solitary practitioner for a very, very long time. But now I'm in a community, and my community are my children that I teach. But ancestors are important, even if you were adopted, because people come to me sometimes and say, oh, well, I was adopted. I don't know my ancestors. You get a 23andMe DNA test. Get an ancestry.com test and just find out in the most general way, where do your ancestors come from? Where did they migrate from, at least over the past 1,000 years? So you see you have ancestors in Africa, or you have ancestors in England, or you have ancestors in Eastern Europe. When you get that information, learn about those geographical regions, learn about the spirituality that those people practiced, learn about the pagan traditions that existed before colonization, learn about what spiritual practices those people brought to the New World. Like on my dad's side of the family, I have an ancestor that moved from Germany to Allentown, Pennsylvania, died, and then his son moved from Allentown, Pennsylvania to Rowan County, North Carolina, which is right outside Charlotte, North Carolina. And my dad's side of the family has been in North Carolina for a long fucking time. But the point is that the Germans that came over to the New World and the Scots Irish, they brought their folk magic traditions into the Appalachia, and that's where you get granny magic. That's where you get Southern conjure. That's where you get powwow and different forms of Christian folk magic and even Catholic folk magic practices. So these are the things you should look into, because when you find out where your people come from, you might automatically be pulled towards a particular practice because it resonates with you. Start there. And once you exhaust your resources doing your ancestor veneration and ancestor work, then start worrying about something else. Like, I don't know what the fuck this is, where people start practicing witchcraft and they automatically think they need to start petitioning gods and goddesses, or they have to get a patron god or goddess. And that's not necessary. Matter of fact, I'm going to tell everybody a secret. You don't need to work with a god or goddess or any spirit to practice witchcraft. Gods and goddesses are irrelevant when it comes to practicing witchcraft, because it's a craft you created. And these people on TikTok, they got really, really, really mad because I told them that putting a statue of Hecate out on an altar and putting out a glass of wine and saying prayers to a statue of a pagan goddess or titan is not witchcraft. That's not what witchcraft is. That's paganism. That's neo-paganism. That's deity worship, or that's becoming a devotee of a deity. But it is not witchcraft, because if you are not using herbs, if you are not using trees and plants and rocks and dirt and stuff, you're not a fucking witch, because you're not using nature. Only witches. Look, you're going to get in so much trouble. You wanted me to come on here. I'm going to get you in so much trouble. Okay. So, you knew I was controversial before I got here. Okay. Only people that cast spells can call themselves witches, because that's what a witch does. And if you have never picked up a nail and a hammer and hammered something together, you can't call yourself a carpenter. And if you have never picked up a wrench and gotten underneath a sink and tried to fix it, you can't call yourself a plumber, because witchcraft is a very specific thing. It is when somebody takes nature and adds their intention to it, charges it with their personal power, with their personal energy, and then actually makes a spell, cast a spell using stuff. And, Witchfoot called it physical magic. She called it physical magic because she said the children would understand what that meant, using physical things. I call it traditional magic. Also, you could call it animistic magic, because you're working with the spirit of nature, spirit of stuff. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I got
So
lost. You
that's
have to bring me
okay.
back to center now.
That's okay. So I think somebody, Fisher of Spam, actually said alchemy.
I
So
don't
I
I don't
think
I don't know what that means. Alchemy, what? That doesn't mean anything. Just saying alchemy question mark doesn't mean anything to me. What
he
does
was
that mean?
talking about that when you were talking about the different the difference between being a witch and being a pagan. He brought
So
up
being an
alchemy.
yeah, so being an alchemist is something completely other than witchcraft. Alchemy is not witchcraft. Okay, alchemy is, if the way alchemy used to be practiced is people were trying to find the elixir of life and immortality. So they would come up with concoctions and substances, physical substances that they would drink and inject into themselves in order to find immortality. That's a very particular kind of thing. It's where we get medicine. The first alchemists were the first chemist. Okay, chemistry comes because people were interested in alchemy. But now today, alchemy, because new age bullshit, is about like meditations, and it interweaves like hermeticism and Kabbalah and all of this stuff, but alchemy has nothing to do with witchcraft. Witchcraft happens when I go out into nature and I forage for herbs, and I get dirt, or I get rocks, or I get a branch of a tree or leaves, and I bring it home and I take those materials and I craft a spell using nature. That's what that means, not alchemy. Herbs are amazing, and I recommend that everybody study herbs. So originally Daniel had asked me about new people getting started on the path, right? So I went through the whole ancestor spill. The next thing on top of that is, okay, see, the longer I teach witchcraft, the more efficient I get at it. I have a homework assignment for all the witch bitches out in Daniel's audience tonight that's listening. This is very importante, so pay attention. This is very important. The exercise that I want everybody to do is, I want you to take a piece of paper and I want you to draw a line down it. And on one side, I want you to write down, what do I believe? What do I believe? Not what I saw some bitch on TikTok say, not what I read in somebody's book, not what my mama told me, not what some priest told me, not what pastor told me. What do I believe? What am I willing to die for? Those beliefs. And on the other side of the line, I want you to write down your morals, and I want you to write down your ethics, your morality. What do you believe is good and bad, right and wrong? What is the proper behavior that you find to be acceptable? When you finish writing that document, that is your religion. That is. It ain't Christianity. It ain't Buddhism. It ain't Ifa. It ain't voodoo. It ain't Judaism. It ain't any of that stuff. Because you can be a member of any religion, but if you don't fucking believe it, you're not really practicing the religion. What do you actually believe? If you want to get involved in the occult and you want to learn how to practice witchcraft, bitch, you best get that shit together first before you ever cast your first spell. You need to know who you are. You need to know what you believe. Even it's, I believe in the goddess and I believe in reincarnation. Two things. I believe in the goddess and I believe in reincarnation. Great, perfect, beautiful. That's what you believe. We can work with that. And on the other side, you say, well, I think I should people should treat each other the way that they should treat one another. Whatever it is, it doesn't matter how simple it is to start. But you need to keep a journal. You have got to make your own magical grimoire. You need to get a nice book and a nice pen that you're going to keep beside your bed, and you're going to write down your dreams in. You're going to write down ideas for spells, write down stuff that you heard about on TikTok that you're interested in researching, and have a book that you start journaling and keeping track of what you do. Those are the most important things that you need to do.
Mhm.
Then on top of that, because that'll take y'all a little while, on top of that, then start learning about the magical properties of herbs, the medicinal properties of the herbs, because I don't know if you guys know who Mama Sunfire is. She's my best friend. We both have the same viewpoint, which is, if you're a spiritualist or a root worker or a witch, you should know both the medicinal and the magical properties for a plant, not just the magical, but the medicinal. Because if you understand what a plant does medicinally, you'll understand what it does
Yeah.
spiritually. because you can't just do whatever the fuck you want and expect to get a result when you practice magic. I'm going to give you an example. I'm going to give you an example. If I wanted to bake a cake, I can't just go into the kitchen and grab a pan and say, oh, well, I think I'm going to put a couple of cups of flour. I'm going to put a cup of sugar, and I think I'm going to put 3 eggs, and I'm just going to put in what I feel should go in there. And I'm going to turn the oven on to the temperature I feel it should be at. And I'm going to put it in and leave it in there as long as I feel it should be in there. You ain't going to get a cake. You're not going to get a cake. You're going to get something, but you're not going to get a cake, right? So the idea is that there are techniques that we use as witches to make successful spells. Successful magic is dependent on your skill level, okay? Because magic is an art and a science. And the science part is being able to understand what are the medicinal and magical properties of a plant. And then the art part is when you get to put it all together and it looks really, really pretty. I can't see the comments, to be honest with you. I'm not seeing comments, but somebody I think had mentioned Rosemary Gladstar. Rosemary
Mhm.
Gladstar is one of America's most beloved herbalists. She has her own website. It's called like The Science and Art of Herbalism. It's a course you can pay for. It's not expensive. It's like $400. But she's a medicinal herbalist, and if you take that course, you will get a full training on how to make medicine, make medicinal medicine, and that is a part of witchcraft. So that is training in witchcraft. If you decide that you want to take a class on herbalism, the only thing you have to do as you go is make sure that you write down the magical properties of the plant. But traditional witchcraft is making oils and making balms and making teas and making salves and making things, if that makes sense.
Right. And that is one of the things I really want you to kind of, because you mentioned traditional witchcraft quite a bit already. Give us, like, that's a good definition of what which the traditional witchcraft is really about. But give us a little more insight into traditional, because I think a lot of people get confused by that.
Yeah. Okay. I'm going to fully break it down for you. Okay. Um, so traditional witchcraft, excuse me, I'm having some kind of issue over here with skin. I've got like dead skin. Okay. Um, so traditional witchcraft is working with nature and timing spellcasting appropriately with what's going on in the celestial. Okay, so herbal astrology is important. 1.5 million years ago, when I first started practicing witchcraft, you had to understand correspondences. Correspondences are very important when you're spellcasting, because depending on the quality of the ingredients that you gather and what ingredients you gather is going to mean something. Okay, everything means something. Let me teach you how to make a money bowl. You want some prosperity, you want some wealth, you want to put some extra money in your pocket. I'm going to teach
Yeah.
you how to make a money bowl spell. Okay, so the first thing you're going to want to do is get yourself a Ziploc bag and get yourself a little shovel. Okay, I have a little metal shovel that's in my trunk and a box of Ziploc bags, because I will literally pull over on the side of the road and go out and start digging up dirt and putting it in Ziploc bags. Okay, if you want to make a money bowl, what you're going to do is you're going to get a bowl, and preferably it's going to be green. Why? Because green is the color of money, right? You're going to go to a bank, and you're going to go and you're going to rip up some grass out of the bank parking lot, and you're going to get some dirt out of the bank parking lot, and then you're going to get the hell out of there before they catch you. Why would you go to a bank parking lot to get grass and get dirt? Because the ache, because the prana, because the chi, because of the energy, the force that is contained at the bank. Why do people go to the bank? They go to the bank to deposit money and to withdraw money. So that energy that's happening, okay, on top of that soil, charges that area with that energy consciousness. So you want some of that. Then you want to like put that grass and that dirt into a bowl and then put some rice in there because that's good for prosperity, and get yourself some shiny pennies or some coins, put that in there, take a dollar bill and a magic marker and write out your petition of how much money you want to make and roll it up and put it in there, and get a green candle, put it on top, burn some incense, light the candle, meditate, put your hands on it, because you got to put your hands on what you cast magic on. Putting your hands in the shit is incredibly important. It's incredibly important for you to put your hands on it to charge it. Okay. And
Absolutely.
then you take that little work of art that you created, right? That little money bowl, and you put it out in your home in a place that you can see it frequently, like by the front door, so that when you're leaving to go to work and you pick up your keys, you see your money bowl. And every time you see your money bowl, you remember that intention. Oh, yeah,
Mhm.
I'm supposed to be manifesting money. Oh, yeah, I'm going to bring wealth into my life. Oh, yeah, it's an empowerment. It's a form of empowerment. It's a power of positive thinking. So it is magical, but it has real world effects. Just like herbs are magical, but herbs also have real world effects. So the point is that is traditional witchcraft, gathering materials for spell casting, having an intention, putting all of those things together, and then displaying them so that you can see them, so that they'll work for you. So that money bowl basically holds your intention. Okay.
Right.
But now let's take it to another level. Okay. That's basic witchcraft. And you don't have to call on an ancestor, you don't have to call on an angel, no spirit guides, no demons, primordials, whatever
Mhm.
gods or goddesses. You don't need any of that kind of conjuration to practice that witchcraft. That's a craft by itself.
Right.
But timing your spell is important. So even though you can make that money bowl anytime you want, um, you would get more of a charge for your spell if, say, you worked with the planet Venus, or you took advantage of that planetary energy that's hitting the earth at the same time that you want to cast your spell. What is Venus's day? It's Friday. There are 2 hours in the day, one during the day and one in the evening, that's dedicated to Venus. It's the planetary hours. And if you have Deluxe Moon app or some other app on your phone, you can very easily find out what the planetary hours for the day are. But I would want to cast my spell on a Friday on Venus's hour. So now I have matched my intention with nature and with celestial forces in order to manifest that which I want. And if you're doing that, or you've ever tried to do something like it, you're a witch. That is the definition of traditional witchcraft. It's easy, it's simple, it isn't nanu. It's not all this meditation bullshit. Okay. I don't know what the fuck that is. Okay. Or where these people thinking Beelzebub is like underneath their bed or something, like they're collecting demons like Pokemon or something. Like that has nothing to do with witchcraft. Um, I said what I said, and if you don't like it, you don't like it.
So I want to touch on something because one of the things that I've been told, and that just by proxy of science makes sense, is that because you mentioned that you literally stop sometimes, like beside a road, or use um, dirt from a bank parking lot and so forth. One of the things that I've been told before, and again, like I said, makes sense scientifically, is that things in and around areas where cars are and so forth tend to get contaminated with the carbon monoxide and other things from
Mhm.
cars, and will alter the um, what's the word I'm looking for? Will alter the correspondence and the properties in a sense.
Well, not for bank dirt, not for, I mean, you're just digging up grass and bank dirt, and whatever the funk is that's on that, around that bank is what you want. You want that. You want all that traffic. You want all that carbon monoxide poisoning. You want all that toxicity. You want all that greed. You want all of that. Like, you want the whole thing.
Mm.
Okay, so I mean, when we're talking about correspondences being damaged, you know, in the good old days, a traditional witch would go out and forage for what she wanted in nature, or he would go
Mhm.
out into the forest to find the herbs and materials. Those witches, for as long as witchcraft has been practiced, they didn't have Amazon Prime. They didn't have Whole
Right.
Foods. They didn't have
Right.
accessibility to um, health food stores that had like individual herbs that you could scoop out, okay, or GNC. I'm not going to say real witches because I use all of these modern conveniences today. Why? Because I'm an American and Americans are just, you know, whatever. But traditionally, you go out and you find what you want and you find what's local to you because
Mhm.
witches have always had a very strong connection with the land. Um, so that's one thing. But then the other thing is, you know, if you're going to buy herbs and you're going to buy plants and you're going to buy incense and you're going to buy, like, essential oils are very important. It's very important that people buy high quality essential oils. You want to make sure that the, the materials you're working with are good quality. That matters. Good quality materials matter. I use Eden's Garden for essential oils. They're my favorite essential oil company. They've got tons of essential oils that you can't find anywhere else. Um, but you want to make sure that you're not buying like fragrance oil and synthetic stuff. Like, you want to buy like really, real pure therapeutic, um, steam distilled essential oils
Mhm.
and essences, flower essences, you know. But I mean, like, whatever. If I wanted to, like, if I wanted to create a spell that was, I don't hex, curse, or jinx people. However, if I wanted to do some kind of spell that was gonna like stink up somebody's life, I would want to go like to a dumpster in New York City and get the most disgusting materials I possibly could out of it. If I wanted to hex, curse, or jinx my ex-girlfriend, I would try to get a hold of one of her tampons. Like, we'll use anything in witchcraft that we can in order to create the result that we want. So, you know, I don't really know where that comes from because you're not separate from your environment. You're not separate from your environment. You and your environment are
Right.
one thing, one organism working together. You're not separate from it. The,
Right.
the idea that you're separate from it is an illusion. It's not real. I need people to start thinking and feeling like this. This is a game. Life is a game. When you decided that you wanted to come from heaven to earth or from source to incarnation, when you had this birth, you came here knowing that you were going to play a game. And life is a game. And it sucks when you're losing and it's great when you're winning. But everybody needs to like take a chill pill and take a step back and realize that we're all playing the game of life. And you take a risk when you decide that you're going to come to this planet and be here, to play the game. And the thing is part of the game is you have to forget in order to play the game. So
Yes.
spirituality is for those of us who remember that we have past lives, remember that reincarnation is a thing, remember that there's magic that holds the entire fabric of the universe together. Whatever it is that holds the entire fabric of the universe together, I call magic. And
Right.
so, you know, this is like Dungeons and Dragons, and your spiritual court or your spirit guides and your ancestors that walk with you are like your team members in your campaign. You know, they're there to guide you, to hold your hand, and to push you forward. You need the push, or pull you out of a situation when you need the pull. divination is a way that we roll to trying to find out what's going on in life. Am I on the right path? Do I need to change jobs? Do I need to change partners? What do I need to do? And I think that if everybody could just take a chill pill and take a step back and realize that life isn't that fucking serious, stop taking it so seriously, then we could all have
Exactly.
a much better time. We could all have a lot more fun.
You know, that's very true. So let's jump back just a little bit here because you mentioned something that has been, thanks to TikTok, made kind of controversial, and that is essential oils. So there are some creators, and we all know some of the big ones that talk about this, that have kind of made a joke out of essential oils on their platform.
What, like Uncle Birch? He's a fucking
Oh my
moron. You can tell
God,
him. He knows
yeah.
he knows he's a moron for that. And I will say it straight out, because that motherfucker and I have been beefing over essential oils for at least a couple of years. And every 6 months he makes a video about how essential oils aren't magical oils. And I make a video saying, no, essential oils are magical oils. And I'll tell you why they're magical oils. They're magical because they're motherfucking plants. That's why they're magical, because plants are
Bingo.
magical. That's what makes
Bingo.
them magical. They're the plant. They're the most volatile essences of a plant. Okay. They're the oil, the essence in the oil that comes off the plant that creates essential oil. And the hydrosol is the floral waters that come off of a plant. But this bullshit about essential oils aren't magical oils, get the fuck out of here with that shit. They're
Right.
plants, and sometimes essential oils are more powerful than plants
Because
because
they're concentrated, right?
they're super concentrated. They're the most concentrated. So, like, I use essential oils in my magic a lot. As an example, if you're a new witch and you want to learn how to um, start casting spells, okay, start
Hmm.
learning how to use spiritual baths. Start learning how to make spiritual baths. Spiritual baths are so easy. I'm going to tell you how to make one right now. Get yourself a basin, okay? Something that'll, hold a liter worth of liquid. Put some fresh water in there, some spring water. Put some coconut milk, or put some oat milk, or put some hemp seed milk. Put some essential oils, tea tree, lavender, eucalyptus, patchouli, lemongrass. Do you want it to be astringent? Do you want it to be purifying, detoxifying, banishing negative energy? Or do you want to put some rose geranium in there, or some Pompeia lotion or Florida water to make it sweet?
Hmm.
Make yourself a sweet bath to draw love to you. Make a love bath. But essential oils and milks and water and colognes, and even a shot of rum, or a little, you know, shot of champagne in a spiritual bath. That's the kind of baths that I make, and they're always fresh. And if I use plants and herbs, they're always fresh herbs. We don't use dried herbs in spiritual baths in my house. They have to be fresh. So fresh flowers, fresh fruits, fresh herbs, essential oils, milks, colognes, and liqueurs are the things that we put into our spiritual baths. Take a nice hot shower. After the shower is over, take that spiritual bath and just pour it all over your body. Just let it pour all over your body, over the crown of your head, down the back of your neck. Kind of keep your legs squeezed together, because you might not necessarily want that, between your legs. And you can't sit in the bath, because if you put like a shot of rum in there, you put Florida water, like, you can't sit in a bath. It's like got alcohol in it, right? So all of these baths that we do are primarily pour over baths. But this kind of stupidity that you see on uh, Witch Talk, people need to understand something. You cannot learn how to practice witchcraft on that motherfucking app. You need to find a teacher. You need to find somebody who you at least think knows what the fuck they're talking about. And then you need to find out if they mentor. You need to find out if they have a program, so that you can learn from someone. You can find an elder that is knowledgeable, that has been practicing the craft for a long time, that can guide you. However, all of the witch bitches that you see sitting over there on TikTok, What are they practicing? What do you practice? If you sit around on TikTok all day, running your mouth about other witches, when are you teaching? What are you teaching? These people that say they're teachers and elders, you'll see they make one video talking about witchcraft, and then the next 10 videos are them fighting with each other about bullshit stuff, about uh, plagiarized grimoires and somebody picking up a goddamn stone in another country or something like that. And it's always fighting. And that's not what this is all about. So
Right.
get off that app. There's so much misinformation on that app, so much misinformation. You can really fuck yourself if
Right.
you just listen to any Yahoo on TikTok telling you to, put stuff together. Um, and it's scary. It's one of the reasons why Jennifer and I got on that app to begin with, because we were watching it and saying, these people have no idea what they're talking about. They're making
Mhm.
stuff up. They're just making it up, because not everything is about intention.
Right.
Intention is like 20% of your working if you're practicing witchcraft, but it's not the whole thing. And these people want to come around and say, witchcraft is about intention. All you need is intention. There's no rules to witchcraft. There are rules to witchcraft. I just told you what those rules are. You can't curse, hex, or jinx somebody with lavender, stupid, because lavender isn't used for hexing, cursing, and jinxing. Well, I'm going to make him fall asleep. You're a moron. Okay? There are rules to witchcraft, but they're not my rules. I didn't make the rules. Nature made the rules. I'm going to
I'm
get
just
you in so
dying
much
here.
trouble. I'm going to
I'm
get you in so
dying.
much trouble.
No, it's good
Look,
though.
it's not like these bitches haven't heard me say it before, so
Right. So before we get to one of the questions that somebody just asked in the room, um, I want to talk for just a second. You mentioned that you get your oils at a place called Eden's Garden.
yes. Yeah,
Okay.
it's Eden's Gardens or Eden Gardens.
Because it sounds to me like they carry quite the stock of some stuff that may be kind of hard to find, even.
They do. They have like blue tansy oil,
Yes.
they have hemp oil, but not CBD oil. I mean, straight up essential oil, hemp essential oil. Hardly anybody sells that. That's the reason why I first got turned on to that company, is because I like hemp, and they have that. They have a lot of expensive oils emulsified in like jojoba oil, so that they're affordable. But they also sell them neat too. So like some of the oils are very, very expensive, but you'll find a variety. I don't like the Young Living people. They're run by the
Yeah.
Mormons, and
Yeah.
they smell junky. They just smell junky. I don't like it.
Yeah. I'm not a fan of supporting that organization either. So Priscilla asked, are dried herbs okay for spells?
Absolutely, 100%. Um, you know, and you know what else is? Powders. Powder, garlic powder, um,
Yes.
uh, 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 arrowroot powder, and all kinds of other powders. Most people don't realize that you can use powder in a lot of spell. Cayenne pepper, chili powder, curry powder. There's all kinds of using powders, just the kind of powders you get at the grocery store. Turmeric powder.
Right.
But dried herbs are very good for like working with candles, right? If you want to dress a candle with dried herbs, that's great.
Yes.
Um, yeah, no, the only time I would recommend not using dried herbs would be if you're going to make a spiritual bath, because there are some people that take dried herbs and they put them in a sachet and they put them in boiling water, but that's tea. That's not a spiritual
Right.
bath. That's just tea. So if you're going to make a spiritual bath, you want fresh plants, because what you want hitting your skin is going to be all those volatile oils, okay, that are come off the
Mhm.
plant, that are extracted in the process of making the bath. So dried herbs are not good for spiritual baths, but they're good for just about everything else.
Right. Right. Um, Somebody mentioned also that Simply Earth is another good company to go to.
Uh, I don't know about Simply Earth, but there's another essential oil company, and I can find out what it is later at the very, very end. I don't remember what it is right now, but so if you go to bulkapothecary.com, they sell the Nature's essential oils. Nature's essential oils are very good. Sometimes you can find Nature's essential oils on Amazon too. Yeah. As you just want to make sure that whatever essential oil you buy, that it says it's steam distilled and it's not a fragrance oil, that it's not synthetic, that it's pure therapeutic grade essential oil.
Right, right. Um, I wanted to go back to the concept of using uh, time, celestial energies, and so forth in magic because you hear a lot of people kind of say that those are good, but they're not essential to the use of magic. That is not really, I mean, to each their own on their thought process on that. But the things that I've always found and was taught was helpful for practicing magic, especially casting spells, was season, month, day, year, hour, the part of the day, as well as celestial timing, all play into importance depending on what you're trying to do. Obviously, moon phases, depending on what you're trying to do, where your head's at, and what your ultimate outcome is to be in trying to cast spells. Because I know a lot of people, you know, it's funny. I kind of liken it to going to the grocery store and reading the list of ingredients and things, and all of those timing things, and all of those different aspects of where the planets align, and all that are kind of the secret ingredients to the product sometimes. So that's one of the things that I think is really important for people to understand is especially like you were talking about your book on uh, celestial correspondences of herbs and so forth like that. I think those all of those things are very, very important again in the outcome. And I agree with you about the thing about intention is not everything. I used to adhere to that idea at one point because I was all into the manifestation, manifest, manifest, manifest. But as time went on, I discovered that it's the use of the energy of those tools that you're using
Mhm.
added to your energy that will get you where you want to go. I kind of use those tools as turning points in the map to get you to your final destination. I think that's where a lot of people kind of miss the boat is not getting those important details in their
Well, I mean,
workings.
they're just fucking lazy. Just call them what they are. They're lazy. They just don't want to work because we live in a culture now where everybody thinks they can do whatever they want, and all you have to do is sit and go nanu nanu and light a candle, an image candle, and you're going to get what you want. And like you said earlier, you used to have that kind of attitude. You used to be all about manifestation, and there's nothing wrong with manifestation. Sitting down and meditating and doing a creative visualization about how you want your life to be is is magical. It's magical thinking, it's creative thinking, it's visionary thinking, but you need real world action to back up that intention. Like I might want to get a job, but if I just sit on the couch smoking weed and eating pizza and watching Netflix all day, I'm not going to get a fucking job. I have to get my big fat ass off the couch and actually put on a shirt and comb my hair and go out on the street and make phone calls and try to actively get a job. So we live in a world now where everybody just wants everything handed to them,
Right.
especially these younger generations, the millennials, the Gen Z, and all those people. They have no idea what it's like to not have what it is that they want and have to wait for a significantly long time in order to get it. I used to remember when, you know, a new album was coming out by one of my favorite artists, we had to wait for the album to come out. And then when the album dropped, okay, because I'm 45, I'm a 45-year-old man. When that album dropped, we had to go to the records. We had to beg our parents to take us to the record store so we could buy the vinyl. Then we'd have to go home. We'd have to rip it open. We'd have to take take the vinyl, and the smell of fresh vinyl coming out of an album, you know, when you got like Prince's new album just came out, you know, and then you have to put it, then you have to delicately set it down, and you have to put down the pin, and you can't dance too hard because the album will skip. And these kids will never understand that because they're raised in a world where you turn on your phone and you hit Spotify and you have every song ever written in life accessible to you. So these are people that don't, it's the same fucking thing with these young queers that want to get rid of gay pride. It's like become a thing for like these 20-year-olds to say, ew, you know, gay pride. It's just, we need to get rid of gay pride because it's just gross, and you know, we don't need it anymore. Bitch, you never knew what it was like to be shamed. That's why you don't understand pride. If you never grew up in an environment where you were constantly shamed for being yourself, then yeah, you don't understand why pride is important. And all of us old motherfucking queers, we clutch our pearls like, you know, I just want to roll over and die when you see people talking like this. But the world is changing. The world is changing, but there are some things that never change. And witchcraft doesn't change because witchcraft is based on nature. So getting back to the whole astrology thing, this is my jam. So I hope you don't mind if I go back to it real quick, because I
Okay.
just want to touch on a few pointers. You know, if you don't observe any other holidays as a witch, pay attention to the solstices and the equinoxes.
Mm-hmm.
The solstices and the equinoxes, very important times of the year. So celebrate them. Astrological timing is important because when you think about like Samhain, you think about Halloween, All Saints Day, Fet Gede, and you know, the Day of the Dead. You know, there is a time of the year in which the veil between this world and the next world is thin. So we do a lot of magic around conjurations with ancestors and spirits of the dead.
Yep.
And other entities like gods and goddesses that are associated with being psychopomps and trafficking spirits of the dead, because that is the time that you want to try to grab those spirits. Same thing with the moon. If you cast spells based on the cycles of the moon, you're practicing traditional witchcraft, knowing that when the moon starts to wax, that you're in a creative period, that any spell casting you do is going to be working towards building, constructing, manifesting, giving birth to something new. Full moon magic is when you get to take the opportunity to really pull and draw all of that. Tonight's a full moon, by the way, everybody. Full moon in Aries. Pull down that celestial force of that moon magic in order to manifest, and then recognizing when the moon starts to wane that it's going into its destructive and dark period of time where you can do more baneful magic or more destructive magic, you know, later on as the moon is starting to go dark. So even if you're just following the phase of the moon, then you're practicing in harmony with the cycles of nature, because witchcraft is based on the cycles of nature. Witchcraft is about sex and death, and that's what I'm all about. Sex and death. That's witchcraft, okay? It is about fertility. It is about life cycles of the universe, life cycles of the earth, the changing of the seasons, people fucking, giving birth, raising children, having community, dying, making ancestors, creating grandchildren. Like there's the natural order of things, which is the continuum of creation. It's a creation. That's what it is. Witchcraft is actively involved in that process of regeneration. So when you say, well, it doesn't matter when I cast a spell, and you start degrading witchcraft by taking away what makes it witchcraft, because it's not a craft unless you have to put effort into it, there's no point in it. There's no point in doing anything. And then it's just mental masturbation, and you're wearing a nice black hat and a pair of black pointy shoes, and you're pretending to be a witch, and that's it. So for anybody who comes along and says you don't have to cast magic at any particular time, okay, bitch, then go keep doing what you're doing. I have no vested interest in some other person knowing how to practice magic properly. I don't give a fuck. If that person wants to practice magic and play however they want to cosplay being a witch, and they want to do that, and they want to keep casting their spells, that's great. That's fine. One day they're
Well,
going to get
yeah.
tired of their shit not working, and then they're going to come back and read one of my books, or they're going to come to my mentorship program, and then they're going to ask for help. Because fuck around and find out, trial and error. And it is 100% someone's right to fuck everything up, and I'll let them do it.
Right. Right. Little Twisted asked if you could talk about the dark side of spells like karma. That laugh.
I like that subject. I wouldn't mind talking about that. Okay. So I don't follow the Wiccan law of three. Okay, that's
Mhm.
kind of foolish nonsense. That everything you do is going to come back to you threefold. No, there's people that do shitty things every day and they never get anything coming back on them at all. Okay, so that's a dogma, and that was something created by European witches that had just busted out of Christianity and needed some kind of moral ethic. Okay, some kind of ethic or moral in order to be accepted by, let's say, the rest of society. Okay, my
Mhm.
philosophy is an eye for an eye. Whatever energy you bring to me, I will match it. You want to fuck me over, I can return the favor, because my spirituality is based on nature. And if you go outside and you go out into the woods and you pick up a stick and you find a rattlesnake and you start fucking with that snake and poking at it and prodding at it and making it mad, if that snake
And
bites,
come at you.
it will bite you to kill. And I'm that motherfucking snake, okay? I'm the exact same way. So, do I believe that you have the right to defend yourself magically? Absolutely. Do you have the right to practice offensive and defensive magic? Absolutely. What the fuck is the point of learning how to cast spells if you can't protect yourself? It's called psychic self-defense, okay? And there are people who don't understand a principle. I'm getting ready to get on my soapbox. You ready? I'm going to get on my soapbox. Now I'm really going to get up on a soapbox because you got me turned on. I'm turned on now. So what people don't understand, and I'm speaking from a traditional perspective, okay? Eye for an eye perspective. Whatever spell that you cast on someone, let's say somebody fucked you over, and you want to get revenge, okay, you got to make sure whatever spell you're casting is in direct correspondence to the crime.
Mhm.
The crime and the punishment have to match one another, okay? So you have to be careful about what kind of spell casting you're going to do. If you're going to do cursing, hexing, jinxing, or justice magic. Justice magic is like somebody stole your money and you want it back, or somebody harmed you in some kind of way, and now you're trying to get their karma, okay? You're trying to get karma to come back on them. If a woman comes to me and says, my husband's beating me and
Mhm.
he's an alcoholic and I'm afraid for my life, I'm afraid to leave, I'm financially stuck to this guy, I can't get away from him, I'm afraid for my kids, will you practice magic for me? Okay, now I'm going to tell you what, talking about intention, talking about casting magic with good intentions, okay, harm none. I could cast a spell to empower that woman, to fortify her, to heal her, to make her strong. So the next time she comes into conflict with her husband, she will be able to be a woman and use that feminine Lilith feminist energy to stand up to her husband. Okay. So the
Mhm.
next time her and the husband get into a fight, he starts going off, and then all of a sudden your spell works. She gets this charge, she gets a sudden boost of energy, okay, and she gets
Mhm.
really bold. Then she gets her ass whooped and she gets put into the hospital because this motherfucker whooped her ass. That was the wrong fucking spell to cast. The spell you should have cast was for him to break his fucking legs or get in a car accident or die. That would have fixed her problem. Not making her bold, not making her, all this feminist bullshit. The right spell to do was to put that motherfucker in an accident. You fucked up. And that's what people don't understand about witchcraft. Witchcraft isn't nice. It's never been nice. Witchcraft has always been feared. There's a reason why people are afraid of witches, because we're fucking dangerous. Not these people on TikTok, they ain't trash. But real witches are dangerous. So the concept here is, when you're talking about karma, if you're going to spell cast against someone, you got to make sure that you're matching that energy, whatever that is, okay? And if somebody pays you money to do a spell on somebody, any kind of karma that's going to come back will not come back on the practitioner. It's going to come back on the person who paid for the spell. So if you're a professional witch or you cast spells on behalf of people, just know when someone pays you money to cast a spell, whatever the results are of that spell is going to go back onto the person that paid for the working to be done, not you. I don't do love magic. Absolutely not. I don't do curses, hexes, and jinxes. I do justice magic. I do offensive and defensive magic. But, you fuck with me long enough, you're going to end up in a car accident. Okay?
I love that. So yeah, you're right. There has to be some balance there. It's not like somebody stole the pen out of my purse, now he's going to die. That doesn't really correspond
Or
with.
somebody said some shit about me on TikTok and I'm going to curse your entire bloodline, your entire ancestry.
Yeah, those are definitely kind of off
Yeah.
balance there.
Yeah. And so that's the other thing. When it comes to witchcraft and spellcasting and magic, the kind of magic that you want to try to cast has to be within the realm of possibility. Because what witchcraft and casting magic does is it creates different timelines. It creates different possibilities. It creates different possible outcomes. The universe tends to want to give us what we want. God bless you.
Thank
The
you.
universe tends to give us what we want.
Mm-hmm.
But if what we want is not accessible, then if you try to cast a spell and say, I want $1 million, okay, well, then you got to go down to the corner shop every single day and buy yourself a lottery ticket. And you got to keep casting that spell and keep buying those lottery tickets until you win $1 million. But in general, things that are accessible are like opening up communication with a friend that I haven't heard from or someone I got into a fight with, or creating a emotional and mental barrier or boundary around somebody that I don't want to interact with, or manifesting a new job, or doing self-love work in order to attract love into our lives. Witchcraft is very practical. Yeah, so it's a practice, it's a craft, and it's based on practicality.
100%. Here is another thing that sort of throws people off, because there's two schools of thought on full moon and new moon and the energy behind the two. So the school of thought that you hear the most is that the full moon is a time of self-reflection, blah, 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 blah. And the new moon is a time for manifestation and projection of energy and magic. Then there's a school of thought that switches those both around and is like, nope, the dark moon is when you do more inner reflection and you go and inside and do all that kind of work.
Yeah.
And the full moon is a time when you bring everything to the table and like, here we go, we're doing this now. So obviously there's a little bit of a conflict in the belief systems of the full
There's
moon.
no conflict. There's no conflict. Because tell me, what the fuck are you going to manifest on a dark moon? What is there to manifest? What energy are you pulling to manifest anything? Right?
Right.
Okay, so the latter is proper. The full moon is when the moon is at its most robust. That's when you're getting the most lunar activity. That's when you want to take care of, that's where you want to take advantage of all of that creative lunar energy, which is extremely magical and extremely psychic. That's why witches have been doing their big ceremonies under the full moon for thousands of years, because the moon
So,
is an incredibly magical planet. It's a feminine planet, represents a lot of goddesses, a lot of female spirits, and a lot of magical energy. The moon is also kind of like a portal between this world and the next world, okay? And the
mhm.
north and the south node of the moon are very important in the kind of astrology I practice. And so if it doesn't make sense, it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense to me that anybody thinks they can manifest anything during a dark moon. You know, in times past, the reason why witchcraft was not practiced or magic was not practiced during new moons was because um, it was more about protecting yourself and keeping harm away from yourself, doing any kind of banishing work or anything you don't want in your life. That's a time to cut cords with that. It's a time to do shadow work. It's a time to reflect, and it's a time to, just like the scripture says, you know, there's a time to act and there's a time to stay still. So in those dark moments, those really, really dark moments, that's the time to be at peace and to be still. And you know, if you're going to do creative magic, you want to use all the creative forces you possibly can. So I
Right.
mean, you can't switch those two things. That's the whole thing. Like, that's not up to someone's opinion. That, once again, magic is an art and a science, and it is a proven science because people have been practicing it for thousands of years. And just because somebody comes up with a new idea about how the universe works doesn't change that we have thousands of years
Right.
of practitioners that have tried and practiced this stuff and refined it into the magical grimoires. Agrippa, some of these other great grimoires in history that, you know, influenced the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn, the Picatrix, you know, and Wicca was born out of Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn stuff. The New Age
Yeah.
movement was born out of Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn stuff. So all of this stuff comes from someplace, and the magical grimoires come from come in the same lineage of the people that wrote the Greek magical papyri. Those Egyptian, Greek,
Mhm.
indeed Indian, and Jewish scholars. Those people that, like the mystery tradition people, the grimoire tradition is a direct descendant from the Greek magical papyri and all of the other papyri that was written before that that had incantations, magical incantations that called on gods, angels, and demons, celestial forces. And these things have been practiced for a very, very long time. You can go back into manuals that are thousands of years old and you can see the exact same correspondences that we still use today, traditional people use today. But like, the earth isn't flat. Like, if you tell me that the earth is flat, I don't have any fucking thing to say to you, because no, the earth is not flat. We know it's a sphere. We can look out into space and we can see all the other planets and we can also see that they're spheres. So you're a moron if you think the world is flat. Do you also believe a turtle is carrying it on its back? Okay. So there are just some things that are not, they're non-negotiable for me, because like I said earlier, plants mean something. Each plant, each herb does something on a medicinal level or a poisonous level, and does something on a spiritual level. And it does that. And it doesn't do anything else. And pretending that it does just is like saying the world is flat and that that's okay to say that.
Right.
Like,
Right.
because this is, like I said, it's a science, it's biology. It's literally
Right.
biology. And the reason why astrology is important, I'm going to tell everybody really, really quickly. Can I teach people something We got a little, I
Sure.
want to teach people something about astrological herbalism. Since this kind of tends to be like my favorite thing to talk about. It's very important, if you want to be a herbal astrologer, that you understand what the planets mean. The planets are the gods. The oldest religions, not spirituality, the oldest religions on the planet are based on astrology, based on the observation of the stars. But we have 7 classical planets, and you should know what they mean. The sun is the king of our universe. The sun represents the masculine energy. It also represents the cycles of life, death, and rebirth, regeneration, reincarnation. It represents healing, and it represents warmth. Okay. Then you've got Venus. Venus is a planet of love. Venus is a planet of luxury, of money. Mercury is a planet of communication and travel. A lot of things revolve around travel and communication when it comes to Mercury. Okay. So Jupiter is a planet of education. It's the guru of all the planets. It's spiritual. It's responsible for everything that has to do with libraries and education and higher learning and mystical learning and occult knowledge. So if you understand what all of these planets do, start learning the associations of herbs and what planet is associated with what herbs. Because as an example, like let's say I wanted to work with the sun, solar energy. And let's say I want to work with Archangel Michael because I like Saint Michael the Archangel, or he walks with me in my spiritual court. Well, I'm going to get some angelica, and I'm going to get a candle, and I'm going to get some olive oil, and I'm going to do I'm going to run a candle or run some kind of lights for him with my Saint Michael. Okay, saying the Saint Michael prayer, or even praying the Saint Michael chaplet. Okay, but the thing is I'm going to do that on Sunday, which is the sun's day. I'm going to do it in the sun's hour. I'm going to do it with Saint Michael the Archangel, who is an avatar that is connected to the sun. And I'm going to use Angelica, which is used for calling angels and is associated with the sun. I want to use as much solar energy as I can in order to spellcast. But if you can start memorizing, like whenever you work with a new herb, say, okay, well, what is this herb associated with astrologically? Then you will automatically be able to figure out which herbs you want to use when you want to spellcast. So like if you want to do a travel spell, well, who rules travel? Mercury. Well, what herbs are associated with Mercury? Ah, now I know what herbs I'm going to use. That's a way to categorize. That's why correspondences are important. That's a way of categorizing in your brain.
Yep.
What herbs are good for and what kinds of spells they're good for is because they're associated inherently with a particular type of energy.
So, yeah, before I even get into that, I just want to this. I do the St. Michael Rosary frequently. I
Oh,
love to, yeah. Archangel Michael is one of my ascended masters that I work with quite a bit.
I love
Um,
Archangel Michael. I work with Archangel Michael.
there's, like I do the Archangel Michael Rosary for Armageddon frequently, and a lot of decrees, a lot of decrees devoted to Archangel Michael. Um, Little Tristan made the comment that they stay inside during eclipses. Now, what's your thought on that?
I guess they're afraid of eclipses.
I mean, is there how do
Okay,
eclipses?
so this is now, if you're going to talk about that, we can get deeper into astrology, because astrology would answer that question. I can't answer that question without bringing up astrology.
Mhm.
Okay, because just one particular event, okay, isn't the only thing that contributes to either the positive or negative qualities of an event. As an example, there are 12 planets. And there are 12 signs of the zodiac in the astrology that I do, which is also based off the galactic center. The Ayanamsha, or the calculations that I use, are based off the galactic center. When you're talking about any kind of celestial event or future event, you have to literally run a chart like you would run a birth chart on the day and the hour that you want to see anything going on celestially, and then you have to look at the transits. You have to look at the aspects. Excuse me. You have to look at the aspects. So, depending on how complicated you want to get, even in spellcasting, take it to another level. So yeah, I could do a spell on Friday, Venus's day and Venus's hour, if I wanted to make a love bath or a self-love bath, and do that. That would be me doing spell work. That would be practicing witchcraft in harmony with astrological timing. However, if I was going to do a spell on, like, say, a particular day and time, I would definitely want to pull up a chart, and I would want to look at what's going on in the heavens at that moment. It could be that another planet is aspecting Venus in a way that is souring that energy or stifling that energy or disrupting that energy. Well, in that case, trying to work with Venus energy might not be the best day to do it. Another Friday might be a better day to do a self-love bath. But now what you're doing is now we're starting to get really, really, really detailed. So an eclipse is an eclipse. It's a celestial event. It's important. If you don't want to go outside, that's fine. But you really have to look at an entire chart. You have to look at the entire. You can't take just one thing. It's like when people say, "Oh, my big three: my rising sign, my sun sign, and my moon sign." That don't mean shit to me. Your big three don't mean shit to me. That's just 3 planets. What about all the other planets? What about where they're seated, in what houses, in what signs? All of the planets. You feel me? So, like, you might have, yeah. So I mean, that's why I don't like tropical astrology. That's why I don't like popular astrology. That's why astrology is important for each individual person. You can't read a newspaper and read or have some astrologer say, well, for all cancers in the month of December, you need to be looking out for that. It doesn't work that way. Nothing works that way. Nothing is blanket. Not when it comes to working with the universe and working with nature. Every single person is different. It's very important that you guys get your birth chart done. I read birth charts. I do birth chart readings. I would love to read your birth chart if you decide that you want to get your birth chart done. Getting your birth chart done is important because you really are a special motherfucking snowflake. There is nobody else walking around but you that is going to have your special energetic signature, okay? Because when we run a birth chart, we say, well, what time were you born? Where were you born? And when were you born? Because everything that's going on in the heavens, everything that's going on in the universe at that moment, when you're born and you take your first breath, all that energy consciousness is going to affect you, and it is going to make you something. It's going to create something. The universe is giving birth to something. And all of those planetary energies that are going on are going to affect you, not just your sun sign, not just your moon sign, not just your rising sign. So this is just another example of people trying to simplify things, because nothing is simple. Nothing is simple. Nothing is just as simple as saying you can use red, to do all love magic. I mean, no. Yeah, you can use red, but I mean, there's purple, there's pink, there's black, there's white, there's all kinds of other colors that you can use any color you want for love, depending on the kind of love that you're trying to attract, depending on who you're trying to get to love you, or how you're trying to love yourself. So there's nothing that is like just uniform across the board. This is the way things go in witchcraft.
Right. There's so many things that people really neglect to understand whenever when they're trying to do workings. Like for instance, going back to creating a love spell, if you want to bring calm and peace into your relationship, using lavender and chamomile to kind of bring those essences in is always real helpful. Like you said, everybody wants to throw some rose petals around and light a red candle and say, "Oh, love, 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 love." But it again, what kind of love are you looking for, or what are you trying to bring into your relationship? Stability. Are you trying to bring stability into your or longevity or better communication? Imagine that, a relationship with communication skills. These are all things that play into the correspondences that you would use for those spells. And I think you're right. I think a lot of times astrologically, we everybody talks about the big three like you were talking about, but the things that they don't talk about are like how my astrological chart reflects the abundance in my life, how my chart reflects my interest, my goals, my goal setting, and using your birth chart to set goals sometimes is really important because you're not going to be able to get a really great understanding of how your goals line up with who you are as a person until you know this information. And I think a lot of times people, again, they throw out the big three and they just neglect all the other kids on the block, so to say, because they don't see it as being important. Again, detail, 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 detail.
Yeah, well, you have to look at the entire thing. It's an entire big picture. If you're practicing witchcraft, you're looking at things from the big picture perspective. What's
Right.
going on in the universe? What's going on in the seasons? What's going on the earth? What's going on with the nature that's around you? Um, yeah, so someone might be like, "Oh, my sun is in Leo."
Hmm.
Okay, well, if Neptune is sitting beside your sun in Leo, you are not going to get the best results out of that sun because Neptune is a planet that literally poisons everything in its proximity if it's close to it. Neptune spoils an entire house. So, like, you might have the sun in Leo, but if it's sitting right next to Neptune, or Neptune is in some kind of planetary war or aspecting that sun, you're not going to get the results that you think you're going to get from Sun in Leo. So that's why things just aren't simple. And I'm sick and tired of people trying to simplify incredibly complex environmental components into laziness. It's just what it is. It's just people are lazy. They don't want to learn. They don't want to read a book. I can't read a Kindle book. It hurts my eyes. Oh, I don't like to read books. I like audiobooks. Is it an audiobook? I like to listen to it while I'm going to work. Oh, I don't need to read that. I just know. That's my favorite one. I don't have to read a book. I already know.
Sure you do.
Okay. That's when I peace out and like I have nothing to say to a person because like that was like I got like 130,000 views on my Hakate video that I made. That's still going and people are still bitching on it. That was a popular video I made last month or this month. And it's just amazing to me that if you're going to try to approach a god or a goddess or any spirit, okay, that you're not going to do everything you can to learn and research, study, try to understand the ethnicity, the origin, the symbols associated with a particular divinity, try to find out what's a respectful way to approach that deity, what are the offerings that they like. You need to learn, you need to understand these things. But there literally be bitches out there like, I had a dream and Hecate came to me and she told me that I was one of her witches. Okay. And now I wake up and everything I do, I'm a high priestess of Hecate and I don't know jack shit about fuck. And I'm just going to do whatever I want. That's the world that we live in now.
It really is very much so. So
And
you've
it
mentioned,
doesn't mean anything. It means that witchcraft doesn't mean anything. It just has no meaning anymore. It's irrelevant.
right, right. It's funny because a lot of people use the word workings. They throw that word out a lot, but the meaning of the word workings has been lost, and especially in our modern culture, the internet just does not do justice for teaching any longer. It really doesn't. Um, I think it's kind of interesting that when we talk about the idea of, you know, workings and what a working is, like you said before, it's like part of the craft is doing the stuff, right? It's like it's putting all the energy and the work into it. And I think a lot of people are under the impression that all you have to do is sprinkle some stuff around and say some words and you're done. And that's really not the way it goes. Not the way it goes at all, which is kind of what we've been saying repeatedly tonight. Is it takes thought, it takes work, it takes knowing your business. Uh, you have to have a clear picture of what workings you're going to do, what you are wanting to bring about, and how to go about doing that. Um, right, draw, retain, and process the information. Absolutely,
And you have to
absolutely.
prepare. If you're going to
Hmm.
spellcast, you want to prepare. You want to think about what you want to do. Like, even if you're mad at somebody and you're trying to do revenge spell, revenge is a dish best served cold, old Klingon proverb. So, meaning that just because you're hot and bothered and you're angry and you're mad and you want to start hexing and cursing this person's bloodline and ancestors or whatever, you need to take a step back and you really need to calculate and think about how you're going to go about doing whatever it is that you do. Because the more thought and the more preparation and the more meditation and the more intention and the more imagination and the more you build, okay, up into doing a spell, all of those that internal mechanism that's happening when you're crafting a spell is going to be what gives it the juice. Okay, that's the battery, that's the power that you're drawing from in order to cast a spell. Can spells be as simple as taking some cinnamon powder and blowing it into your doorway in order to bring prosperity? Yes. Is a spell as simple as like walking out into the forest and picking up a stone and carrying it and meditating and then throwing it into the pond and throwing your intention into the river? Yes. Magic is that simple. It can be that simple. That's what we would say folk magic or low magic. Okay, low magic or folk magic, which is, uh, very, very simple to the point spells like you're having nightmares and put a glass of salt water beside your bed, stuff like that. Um, but spell casting can be as simple as you want it to be, and it can be as complicated as you want it to be. I don't want anybody that watched this podcast tonight to think in any way, shape, or form that I'm telling you that you have to run a whole fucking astrological chart because you want to cast spells. Not at all. It depends on the spell, it depends on how important the spell is to you and how much energy you're trying to pull. So if you feel good and you want to make a spell candle because you're just in a good mood and you just want to put all that good energy into a candle with herbs, that's great. You don't have to do it in any particular time. But using astrological timing is just kicking your craft up to another level. That's all. It's like there are different levels to this. There are people that know how to bake a cake. My aunt could bake a cake. But there are people that go to culinary school to learn how to make wedding cakes. I mean, huge wedding cakes with layers. You know what I'm saying? So like, there are different levels to this, um, and and there are some people that are very fast manifestors that have a very strong spiritual court, that were born, that walk the earth, that are divine. They're divine entities visiting, that have the ability to snap their fingers, or have the ability to light a candle, or have the ability to communicate with spirits of the dead or the gods, okay? And be able to manifest shit fast. There are people that are like that because it's their level of evolution. It's at the stage of evolution that they're at, okay? That allows them to be able to do those things like Jesus of Nazareth, okay? Buddha. That's what I'm talking about. So there are people that can manifest things with the power of the word, with the power of the tongue. But most of us are going to have to pair our intention with nature in order to get the oomph, to get the boost that we want, in order to change the algorithm. And that's all this is, algorithm. You're changing the algorithm. You're setting up more possibilities for yourself when you
Yeah.
practice witchcraft. Mm-hmm.
So you've given us a lot of food for thought tonight, which I knew you would. Um, I want to I want to touch base again on some of the things that you offer, because I think it's really good that we know, uh, as far as readings, uh,
Yeah.
your mentorship, the whole 9 yards. There, what are the things again that you offer?
Yeah, so the most important thing that I would really love your audience to know and follow through my LinkTree is join my private Discord. I've got a great community that I've created. I don't know how many people are actually in the Discord right now. I think I'm over 200 in the Discord, and I don't know how many people are. I think I've got something like maybe, I think I've got like between 40 and 45 subscribers, but um, that Discord is monetized, so you can join and be a member for free. But if you want to come to my lives where I teach, or you want to have access to all the channels, that has an exhaustive list of channels in there of different things, from paganism to witchcraft to magic mushrooms to voodoo to Ifa to astrology to herbology, like the whole thing. We have channels that run through the entire gamuts and categories for people that want to learn lots of different types of things, and want to post and want to comment and want to ask questions and interact. It's a real community, and I'm very, very proud of it. I'm very proud of that. So anybody that's looking for assistance in their craft, or if they're new to the path and they want to get that kind of help, my Discord is the number one place to come. And like, a premium membership is like $5 a month, which I think is, um, you know, crack whore pricing, okay, on magical education. There's a $30 tier, and the $30 tier is for mentees, and that's a higher level tier, and those people get more specialized attention than people that are premium members. However, it's a great environment, and it's no drama, no bullshit, not allowed. Not allowed at all. Not in my house. Okay. I do spiritual consultations. People come to me because they want help with their craft. Some people have been practicing for a year, some people have been practicing for 30 years, and they still want my help in order to get new ideas about fresh ways to go about the craft. Because it's always good to get a reading, every year, at least one reading a year to check in with where you're
Right.
at. You know what I'm saying? Find a practitioner that's honest, that doesn't bullshit you and is going to tell you the truth, and get a reading. And then the birth charts, which are very important. I think anybody who steps on the path of the occult, it behooves them to get their birth chart read, because it just gives you a deeper understanding of you on a multiversal level. Because each planet is going to give you blessings and challenges in life. Depending on where your planet is in the sky, or your planets are in the sky, that's going to mean something. And that means the sun is giving you a particular kind of boon, and it's also giving you a particular kind of challenge. And another important thing to find out is what your soul planet is. Your soul planet is the planet that holds the highest degrees in the heaven at the moment of your birth. That
Mhm.
planet could be Venus, it could be the sun, it could be Saturn, it could be Mercury, it could be Jupiter, it could be, any of the planets. But knowing what your soul planet is important, because that planet is going to rule your entire birth chart. It's going to rule your life. And the lessons of the house and the sign that that planet sits in is going to be a theme that reoccurs throughout your entire life. So these are very important things to know if you want to develop spiritually. Um, and that's what I love to do. I love to teach and I love to talk about this stuff. And I want everybody to be successful. I want everybody to practice and be successful in their practice. Like, I don't care if a bitch wants to do whatever they want. They don't want to listen to me and they don't want to read a book, and they think they can channel every single working that they do. That's fine. That's great. But like for me, like I have to read, I have to study, I have to learn, I have to trial and error. I have to use a scientific method when I spellcast. I need to be around other people who are interested in the same things I am and bounce ideas off of them and see what they think and get feedback. You know what I mean? Like, the learning process is fun. And if you like to learn and you like to work, then I'm the kind of guy that you want to hang out with. If you're lazy, don't even bother clicking on that link.
Right.
Don't bother coming
Right.
over.
Right. My mods are all like wanting you to come back. They're like, get him back, get him
You
back.
know what's so funny
Uh,
though is you had Nana the Witch on, and
mhm.
Nana is like one of my favorite people. She's one of my best friends in the entire world, and I'm so glad that she was on here. Her and I agree on most things, and I think that as a quantum witchcraft and quantum teacher, she's really great. And check out my books. Like I said before, I'm an author. I'm a self-published author. My chaos magic book is really, really good. I have to say, I like it. And the book that I really, really want to push is the medicinal and magical herbalism. It's a great book. And I published my own personal grimoire, and I've also written a book about Puerto Rican voodoo, about Sanse, which is a spiritualist tradition that developed on the island of Puerto Rico. And so, yeah, I encourage everybody just to click on the links that were given during the podcast and just look at all of the offerings that I have. I want to help everybody. I do. What does this person say? The soul is a non-physical being. Planets have nothing to do with a non-physical being. The soul chooses the body, and when it comes in, you have many lives and many birthdays. Which sign are you? I don't know what the fuck you're talking about, dude. I have no idea what the actual fuck you're talking about. You don't understand how reincarnation works. Obviously, you don't understand the process of life, death, and rebirth. So I don't have anything to say to you. Go read a book.
Mentorship.
So the thing is, let me touch on what this guy said. Let me go back for a second. I'm not trying to pick fights with the people that come into your life, but let me think about that for a second.
Yeah.
This is the point. This is where this guy is wrong. So
Mhm.
I'm gonna point out where this guy is wrong. Okay. This goes back to the idea that we are one big organism. We are one big organism, both in being and non-being, just like yin and yang, being and non-being, okay? Spirit and matter. Space is not just nothingness. Space is actually something. Actually, there's no such thing as nothing. There's just that which we can't perceive. And we consider, well, there's nothing there in empty space because, you know, but that's not how it works. We're all part of this one environment. We're all part of one environment, and everything matters. Every single detail matters. Okay. Um, Everything you think, everything you say, everything you do vibrates throughout the entire universe. Okay. And what I'm telling you guys isn't based on my own personal thoughts or feelings. This is based off of thousands and thousands and thousands of years of scholars, from Buddhist to Hindus to Taoist, Confucians, people that have practiced and observed astrology and life, Ifa. It's really easy to show up and throw a modern perspective on these ancient traditions, but these ancient traditions still work. And you might be a spirit having a physical experience, but all those planetary energies, those are affecting the spirit as it's barreling through space, getting ready to take an incarnation. So it all matters. Like, just to say that like the planets don't matter, that's not true. The sun matters. You danced with Nana. That's great. I mean, here's the thing. Like, it's your environment. The planets are the planets set the environment in for what's going on in the universe on a big scale. You know what I'm saying? Like, it might not seem like a lot to you on Earth because you're like this big on this big rock ball hurling through space. But there's all these other planetary consciousness going around too, and they're interacting with one another. Like I said, the planets are the gods. They keep track of time. They keep track of karma. These are things that are just inherent. But I'm not trying to convince anybody, because you'll find out for yourself. I don't have to prove anything I say, because people will find out for themselves. I can say fire is hot, but if you don't believe me, by all means, stick your hand in it and burn yourself.
Yeah. So I definitely want to encourage you guys to check out Ryan's LinkTree. Let me see if I can pull that back up again, because there's some really, really good information linked to that. A lot of good stuff. And he has
a YouTube channel. I have my YouTube channel.
The YouTube channel is definitely on there. The really big one, obviously, outside of YouTube, is the there it is. Yeah, is the Discord link. Again, $5 is $5. It's not that much. It's literally less than the price of Starbucks now. Wow. Yeah. So those are all good resources to go to.
If you go to my YouTube channel, there is an entire playlist. I think it's high up listed in the different playlists that I created, but I have a playlist on YouTube that is my free introduction to witchcraft. There's like, I don't know, maybe 8 or 10 videos in that series. They're all about a half an hour long, and it is an entire introduction to witchcraft on my YouTube channel that's 100% free.
There you go, Pam. There's a good source to check out for sure.
That's where you start.
On that, yeah, because I know she's like, I can just imagine what her poor notebook looks like now. And there's the link to the YouTube. So I really appreciate, Ryan, you coming on tonight. We're definitely going to have to get you back. There is I knew there was going to be a plethora of information shared tonight, and there is so much more that you have to teach and offer people, and I appreciate that. If you will hang out for just a moment, I'm going to close this out, and then I will come back to backstage to talk with you for just a moment.
It sounds good. Thank you so much for having me on. I really enjoyed my time tonight.
Thank you. I did too.
No.
Oop, I cut him out. You know what? I love you guys. This was quite the show tonight, as I knew it would be. You know what? I got to tell you guys, like, Ryan is one of my all-time favorite people for teaching just the abundance of knowledge that he has. Check out his LinkTree definitely, and I will. Where is it at? There we go. There's the LinkTree again. Check that out definitely. I will be back on Tuesday with another show for you guys. I'm gonna work on getting Ryan back soon too, and I will see you guys again on Tuesday. May your journey always be magical.